Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Tim, an investment advisor at realestate.com.kh based here in Cambodia. And today I'm in Sihanoukville. It's Cambodia's largest coastal city. And since 2019, the city's been through a bit of a roller coaster ride. And the headlines, if you've been following, have been confusing to say the least. So today in this video, I'm going to take you through exactly what's going on in the city. I'm going to strip away the hype and the confusion. I'm going to show you what the plan is for the next 15 years. I'll give you a look on the ground, data and the trends, and I'll let you decide for yourself. So Sihanoukville is around 200 kilometers to the southwest of Cambodia's capital city, Phnom Penh. It's on an elevated peninsula along the Gulf of Thailand, and it's the country's largest coastal city. Sihanoukville is also home to Cambodia's largest deepwater port, and it's the country's main gateway to international shipping and trade routes. And for those of you that know Sihanoukville from before 2015, you'll probably know it for its beaches, sort of that quiet seaside coastal town vibe as well. It's roughly a 45-minute ferry from Koh Rong and Koh Rong Phnom, which are Cambodia's two main island tourist destinations. So what actually happened in Sihanoukville? In 2019, Cambodia's government passed a law that banned online gambling. This led to a mass exodus of Chinese investment from Sihanoukville. And unluckily for the country, about a year later, the pandemic hit as well. So COVID obviously had a massive impact on Cambodia's economy. From estimates, they say that by April of 2020, around half of the world's population was under some form of lockdown. In 2020, Cambodia's GDP actually contracted by 3%, which for context was its only year of contraction. Tourist numbers in the same year collapsed by around 80%. And again, for context, have only just reached their pre-pandemic levels again in 2024 at around 6.7 million tourists per year. So together, the pandemic and the exodus resulted in the real estate market crashing. For people who are familiar with the city, they'd say that this was the moment that the bubble burst. Rental and sales demand in the city crashed. There were hundreds of buildings that were under construction that were either stalled or abandoned. By some government surveys, there was estimated to be around 360 to 400 abandoned buildings, which is kind of what gave Sihanoukville its reputation for being a bit of a ghost city during those years. So as you can imagine, Sihanoukville and the region as a whole was in quite a tough spot, and the government had to do something. Once the dust had settled, the government began to shift its focus to redevelopment and looking at the future of Cambodia and the future of Sihanoukville. And at the start of 2024, they formally launched the Sihanoukville Master Plan. It's a 15-year development plan for the Sihanouk region, which targets 4 specific areas: tourism, industry, logistics and trade, and finance. The plan aims, according to the government, to attract up to around $20 billion in private investment. The program is broken into 2 phases. The first phase, from 2024 through to 2028, aims to integrate Sihanoukville into regional trading systems. That's to the rest of Cambodia and then the rest of ASEAN. The second stage, the second phase, goes from 2029 through to 2038. And this part of the plan focuses on strengthening the city as a national gateway for trade, finance, and to develop it into a smart green city. And to do this, the government's pushed through loads of different infrastructure projects, and it's given a lot of incentives to developers and investors to pick up the real estate market again. So now I want to take you through a couple of these projects. So first, let's take a look at the Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville Expressway, which was built to directly connect Sihanoukville to Phnom Penh. It's a 187 kilometer long expressway, and it was completed at the end of 2022 for around $2 billion. It reduced the travel times from around 5 to 6 hours down to 2 to 3 hours. A one-way trip would typically cost you around $14 to $15. And I personally feel it's well worth the money. You can see it's quite a scenic drive from the cliffs. Next up is the Funan Techo Canal. This is a 100-meter wide, 180-kilometer long waterway that directly connects the Gulf of Thailand to Phnom Penh. It was built together with the China Road and Bridge Corporation and cost around $1.7 billion. Groundbreaking for the project was in August of 2024, and will be completed some point late in 2028. And the purpose of the canal is to build a sovereign trade route that reduces Cambodia's dependence on Vietnamese ports, which for context host around 30% of Cambodia's exports. Now let's talk about the Sihanoukville deep sea port. As I mentioned earlier, Sihanoukville is home to Cambodia's main deep sea port, and the redevelopment for this port is broken up into 4 phases from 2020 through to 2028. They're currently working on expanding the depth of the port up to 13 meters, which will be done later this year, 2025, and then they'll further extend it to 15 meters by 2028. They're also expanding the container yards, and they're adding a couple of new container terminals as well. Now let's talk about the Sihanoukville airport. So currently they're expanding the length of the runway at the airport from 2,500 meters, which it was before, up to 3,300 meters, which would then allow your 3-row aircraft to land. Other things they're doing is they're including new taxiways, aircraft stands, they're building a new passenger terminal. They've even reserved a site for a potential second airport. The main part of this program is called the Ghost Building Rehab Program, which at the start of 2024, the government had identified around 362 unfinished buildings that would require around $1 billion to complete. Now, at the start of 2025, around 101 of those 360 buildings have been approved for redevelopment, and 42 are actively under construction again, worth a value of around 560 million. Alongside the rehabilitation program, the government also launched a special investment promotion program. This started at the beginning of 2024 and aimed to boost investment in the real estate market. So between January and November of 2024, 213 projects were approved in Sihanoukville with a total investment capital of just over $6 billion, which is now projected to create around 40,000 jobs in the region. So these projects include the 103 that were approved for rehabilitation from the unfinished buildings at around $2.5 billion, 86 new developments at $2.7 billion, 17 expansion projects at just under 800 million, and 7 existing investment projects just over 30 million. By sector, 213 of these projects were in real estate, 60 in tourism, and 35 industrial projects. So initially these programs were meant to run through to the end of 2025, but after seeing the positive uptake in the market, the government's announced that it'll be extending these programs until the end of 2028, which ties in with the end of the first phase of the master plan. Special economic zones, SEZs, are said to be the foundation of Sihanoukville's industrial development plan. So currently the province has 16 special economic zones with 5 currently operational, and inside those 5 there's around 270 factories that are operating. The total investment is around 2.65 billion and it employs just under 100,000 people. And the final part of this program is the tourism infrastructure development. So Sihanoukville's got a goal of becoming a world-class tourist destination. There's a bunch of new 5-star hotels that have announced they're going to be launching in Sihanoukville, including Novotel. There's casinos, resort complexes. There's even a Maldives-like private island, which is a couple minutes ferry ride, which is set to open in Q1 of 2025. To close out, here are 3 real estate trends that I think are the most important to focus on right now in Sihanoukville. Number 1 is the real estate buying, selling, and rental activity has increased by almost 20% in 2025 so far in Q1 compared to the same period in 2024. Number 2, the properties near casinos have seen a price increase of 5 to 7% over 2024. And number 3, coastal properties, or those along beach lines, are typically 15 to 20% higher than similar properties that are more inland. So to end off the video, here's a couple of my own thoughts. Sihanoukville has come a long way over the past 3 to 4 years. I mean, it's not the quiet coastal town that it used to be pre-2015, but from the country's perspective, it is moving in the right direction. Sihanoukville is also in an extremely important strategic location for Cambodia, which is a rapidly developing company despite the pandemic slowdowns. We can't expect them to keep such an important city as a nice idyllic, quiet coastal town, as it has enormous potential. But that being said, the city is not for everyone. A lot of the parts in the north of the city are still going through a lot of development and still has that kind of vibe that it did over the past few couple of years. And it still has some time to go. We know we need another 5 to 10 years to really get where the city's trying to go to. I mean, keep in mind, we're only into the second year of the master plan. And despite that, things are picking up very quickly. There seems to be a lot of interest, a lot of investment coming in. So I do travel to Sihanoukville very often, but I generally stick to the south parts of the city, which is Otris Beach, and even to the islands, Korong and Koron Samlam, which is a 45-minute ferry ride. Guys, if you found the video useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. It's a new channel, so every bit of engagement helps. I hope it's helped clear up some of the confusion about Sihanoukville. And also, if you're interested in property investment in Cambodia, please reach out to me. I'll leave my contact information in the description below. Otherwise, here's a clip of the Phnom Penh skyline. Bye.